Hey everyone, my name is Javi, and in this video, we're gonna learn what metrics you need to be tracking when you're trying to scale a high ticket offer. So a lot of people tend to overcomplicate this, and they sometimes they be tracking the wrong data. That's why you do need a spreadsheet and not rely on the ads manager because you're gonna be reading the correct data. But what is just the main two things that you need to scale? There could be three or four in there, but I'm just gonna sum it up to like two. And once you have this, you can pretty much predictably scale in your business. So let's jump right into it. So one of the first things that we gotta find out is our cost per book call. Now for us for in 2022, this is the numbers for that. I should have put in here the 2023 because it did get lower. But let me just show you this because we're already here. So cost per book call is $300. Now this is one of the first things you should be finding out when you start running ads is how many DMs you're getting and how much those DMs is actually converting into a call. So one of the first thing we got to find out is cost per booked call. That's literally the first thing. If you start running ads, this is the first thing you got to start looking for. What is it costing me for me to get on the phone with somebody or an application or whatever it may be? Actually, let's just go to book call, like which is past the application. How much does it cost me if I could get somebody in front of me on a Zoom call or on a phone call? So cost per book call should be one of your like the first thing you should be finding out when you're running ads. After the good CTR, after the cost per result, which is if you guys have never ran ads before, you first got to get a good CTR. Once you have a good CTR, you can crank up the numbers. And then as long as your cost per result is not like 30, $50, you can keep running the ads. Let's say we're averaging for us $15. So I'm golden there. Once I know a good CTR, once I know a good cost per result, I move into cost per book call, which that's why you need the trackers. That's why you need this stuff where you can know. For them, zoom in here. If I don't know if you saw where I put. So I think I zoomed in too much. So boom, right here, my sales side, my cost per book call is $315, right? So I go, my cost per book call for me is $350. So now I know every time my ads spend $350, I get somebody to book one call. So that is my cost per book call, right? And then for me, from here on, it's just math. So if it costs me $350 to get somebody to book a call, how much would it cost me to get 10 book calls? And it's simple. It's just pretty much this times, I'm not gonna put times 10, but it's just I'm not gonna put all 10 boxes, but it's pretty much 350 times 10 because you're trying to get 10 book calls, which will equal to 3,500. So this is why this is so important, because once you know your book cost per book call, which is 350 times 10 book calls, it's costing you 3,500 pretty much. Now, what the next metric comes in is your closing rate, because your closing rate will determine what your cost per acquisition is. If you have a very low closing rate, your cost per acquisition will go higher. If you have a higher closing rate, your cost per acquisition goes lower. So that's more in the sales cycles. But now that we know our cost per book call, we know what it takes and what to give our ads to get a book call a day. So let's say if you are spending 300, let's say $300. Actually, let's run the dips to 300 for it could be easy math for everybody. So it's just 300. And guys, I've seen book calls from $100 to I wouldn't max. I'll be 500. It better be a very qualified lead. Especially sort of the more you charge. So we had different programs from 25, 50 grand, even 80 grand. So we'll spend more on the book call depending on the high ticket offer. But for a funding company that is charging 6 to 12K, 200 to 300, max $500 per book call. So $300 per book call times 10 calls equals $3,000 pretty much. Now I have 10 people in front of me. Now we gotta know the no show up rate and my closing rate, which those are two metrics after you know your book call, which let's go back to my yearly. So the no show up rate was 5%. So we had a very low no show up rate. So for me, let's say it's 10%. Out of this 10 people, 9 will show. So 9 will show up, right? So that here's important why you gotta know your closing rate. Out of 10 people or out of 9 people or whatever, how much can I close? For me, I was averaging a good 40%. So let's say I'm closing 4 of these people. 40%. Sorry. Closing rate, which will equal to 4. It could actually be 4 or 5 closes, depending per 4 closes. 4, I'm gonna put sale. 4 sales at 8K each. So this is kind of how what happens, right? And then once you have this metrics, you then find out your cost per acquisition. So once you start doing all this math, once you know your cost per book call, right? You here, I'm gonna put this one here, different color. Right, you know your cost per book call. Once the cost per book call, you figured it out. Now we pretty much is 300 times 10 because I want to get 10 book calls in front of me, right? And then 9 people will show up, which is this has to do more with sales. So I'm kind of divided a little bit. So once because getting somebody booked and to show up, that's setting and marketing. Getting them to close, that's pretty much sales. But actually, I'm just gonna keep it because it does kind of like just follow up to it. It's kind of like the rhythm of thing and the progression of things. So I'm just gonna keep it going. So again, first key metric we gotta find out cost per book call. Once we know our cost per book call, we could do math, which is very simple math. Is if I want to get 10 people in front of me, how much would that cost me? So it's costing you $3,000 to get people in front of you. At a 40 per actually let's actually not let me put more average. Let's put 30% closing rate, so you can get 3 sales, right? Because not everybody has a 40, 50, 60% closing rate. They just put at least a bare minimum of 30% closing rate, right? So book a call, 300 times 10, 9 people will show up because 10% no show rate, right? So they have a 10%, you have a 10% show up rate. So out of the 9 people, 1 is not going to show up. So I'm going to put it right on top. Boom. 9 people will show up at a 30% closing rate. You should close at least 3. You should do at least 3 sales out of that, which AK pop, whatever the math is there. So now, like I said, now we know our cost per call. We close a couple people. Now, once you add this data to a proper master tracker or data tracker that you're tracking your data correctly, you should be getting your cost per close. Here, I was already having a big team, and I was already charging mentorship on top of my service. So I was charging 20K, 15K. So my cost per result did go up. It should be about 1,000 when you're doing 300K months. Actually, I could give you more like a graph over here. Yeah, so it should be, I had it over here. Yeah, so at 50K months, here it is. Zoom on a bit more. So around 50K months, it should be around $500 to 1,000 to when you're doing like 200, 300K months should be $1,000. So let's go back to over here. For me, it was 1,700, but again, this was towards the year, which I was already charging different packages. So I was already charging people 25, 50 grand, so the cost went a little bit higher. But let's go back into over here. So now, once you know your cost per book call, to get to 10 people, you got to spend at least $3,000. You have at least a 10% show up rate, and you're closing people 30%. Congratulations, you made 3 sales at 8K a pop. Now we know our cost per acquisition. Now our next thing that we got to find out is your cost to acquire client. So that's the next thing. Once you know this, It is a very key metric because once you do this, you can start spending your ad budget according more to your cost per acquisition. So there was a client of mine right now that we were talking to. She's like, "Oh, Javi, I'm not getting enough book calls," and I'm like, "Well, your cost per book call is $300, and you're only spending $50 a day, so it's taking you 6 or 5 days, whatever it may be, to get a book call. So you got to get closer to your cost per book call on your daily ad spend. So let's say your cost per book call is $200. You gotta try to get your ad spend to $200 in the right way. Don't do this incorrectly. Because if you do this incorrectly, then you're not gonna do it right. The right ad that is giving you the book calls, that ad should go into cost per book call daily, or even more. If you want to get, let's say I want to get 3 book calls per day, I will spend $1,000 a day if I could get 3 book calls a day. So if, let's say your cost per acquisition is $500, which if you are 50K months or 80K months or less, it should be around $500. So if we have your cost per acquisition is $500, you can be like, okay, how do I get 10 sales? To get 10 sales, you gotta spend, $5,000. So it'll be 500 times 10, which will equal to 5,000, right? Simple math, guys. Your cost to acquire a client. That's why this was a bit too high. Actually, no, and it's okay. Either way, we're just rounding things up. Plus, I have data on this on like so many different credit and funding companies now, like over 50 of them. Actually, we're getting to 60 now. That almost all of them are doing minimum 30K months. We have people doing 30. We have people doing 500. So I have a lot of data on this. So this is just average. So we just average things out. So cost per book call is averaging $500 a month. If you want to get 10 sales, you got to spend $5,000 at least that month to make 10 sales. If 10 sales at 8K a pop, it could be literally an 80K month. So it's really simple as that. And one of the goal is should be then start spending cost per book call. So ad spend. So let's say if you want to get multiple sales a day, if you want to get 2 sales a day, right? What I would do is start spending, pretty much $1,000 a day. I'm gonna put daily ad spend. So again, if you want to make a sale every day, you spend cost per acquisition daily, and cost is definitely gonna go up. This does not mean that okay, I my cost per acquisition is $500 every day. I'm gonna get a sale. If you're spending at least $1,500 a day and you're not getting at least 1 sale, then you definitely have a problem. Something's wrong. You scaled the wrong ad incorrectly. Something is not working. So this is pretty much how it gets. So if you how it goes. This is how you correctly scale. How you correctly once you have your cost per book call and once you have your cost to acquire a client, your cost per acquisition pretty much, you're ready to start scaling. You're ready to start hitting 100, 200K months. And then it all becomes is can your team facilitate, the influx of work, that it just becomes now like a setter issue, a sales issue, and a fulfillment issue. But you don't have any more the cost per acquisition issue. You don't know, like you now, once you solve this metrics, you're past the point of like, oh, I don't know where my next meal is coming from. I need to start relying on referrals and word of mouth. I don't know. I don't have an influx of lead. I need to go hire a marketing agency. All this crap that a lot of business owners don't know what the hell's going on because they don't have control of this. They don't know these metrics. If I go to a business owner and I'm asking what's your cost per book call and what's your cost per acquisition, and they don't have these metrics, I know they're not a 200, 300, 400K months, because how could you, unless you have a huge fucking audience and you never run ads, so you're just doing relying on organic, it works. But I don't have a million followers. I don't have a nobody knows who the fuck I am. So how do I get to for me to get people to pay me and get to know me is by running advertisement. I tell Facebook, I give Facebook X amount of money. I'm spending about $2,000 a day. If I could get a bunch of money back, and that's how I get to people to know me. That's how I get people to know my product is by spending ads. My cost per acquisition, my company is around $2,000 or $1,500. So I try to spend that much if I could get multiple sales daily. Of course, like I said again, cost does go up. It could go up by 20%, even by 30%. But that's when you can also rate your prices, or as long as you're within margins, everything works. Because let me break it down here again why it works so well. If right now you close three people at, let's say, 9K pop, because you made them a funding deal, right? And those three people all give you 3K down, 3K. Oh, sorry. So you close three people here, right? And they all give you 3K down. So the reason why this works and you can keep spending, spending, and spending, and spending, and spending, and spending is because you technically spend $3,000, right? You spend $3,000 to close this much people, and then pretty much one of you guys paid for this ad spend. That's why it goes back and forth, right? So let me see if I can make this thing clear for you guys. All right, so three. Let me see if it could be more simple. So you spend $3,000 to get 10 people in front of you, but you didn't really pay for this money. The client did. This one right here. So if I go here, actually probably looks nicer like this, but pretty much this person paid for your acquisition. So I'm gonna put this one. I'm gonna put it like in a darker because, well, I'll put it back in the blue, right? Now this 3K down that they gave you, you go and do the whole system again. Right? So this one, you did it to pay back this one. This 3K down, you can literally go and get more, right? So you pretty much your cost per acquisition is built in inside the acquisition, so you can go and keep getting more and more clients. And then this one is your actual profit. This is the one you keep and you take home and you put it in your pocket, right? And as long as you can do this over and over again, you get me? It just becomes a cycle, and you keep doing this into like as far as possible. I've seen people, it just costs go higher and higher and higher. So then you have to have really efficient team. Your ads really have to be dialed the hell in. Like you can't do this if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like especially one of the mistakes I see a lot of people make is that sometimes a big percentage of the budget, especially brand new ad media buyers, is like 80%, 50% is being spent on things that they didn't give them the result. So make sure you're very careful when you're scaling, because Facebook will gladly take your money and you're not going to get it back. So again, one of the first key metrics you try to find out, most important, is your call. I'm going to put, is your cost per book call. So key metrics to track is this too. Two key I'm just put KPIs to scale. I'm trying to put to scale correct. So the two key KPIs for you to scale correctly will be cost per book call and cost per acquisition. Now, once you know your cost per book call, again, you can just do, okay, if it costs me $200, $300, whatever it may be, if I want to get 10 people in front of you, I got to just spend $3,000 to get 10 people in front of you. It could be, like I said, 10% off, 20% off. Maybe instead of spending you 3,000, you spend 3,500. You know, it doesn't really matter as long as everything makes sense. Let's say your no show up rate is just 10%, which is awesome. I just saw your full year. We have 5% no show up rate, so 9 people will show up. That means you at a 30% closing rate. You're closing 3 deals at 9K each. Hell, even if it's 6K each, you're still making a hell of money, right? Because now you have 3K down, 3K down, 3K down, and then next month, all of these, they come back next month because they display payments. So next month you get, another 9 grand pretty much. Oh, whoops, sorry. Next month. Nine. Sales. So the month after that, which is this why this is fucking awesome. It works so well. Is the month after that, you're gonna get these other 9 grand, right? From the previous sales, and then it starts compounding, compounding, and compounding, and compounding. So I'm gonna put like over this like over here because it should be pretty much here, like almost happening like next month. So you create this cycle, and this cycle will get you easily to 100K months, 200K months, even past that. One of our clients just posted a post. I could just go and show you guys real quick in the show your wins section. My company, you see people sharing their wins daily. But like 5 days ago or so, where is this? It was 5 days ago. Yeah, it was 5 days ago. So 5 days ago, one of our most successful clients, John, this guy's a badass. He made $361,000 cash. You get me? I'm pretty sure 150, 180 are new sales, and half of that is previous sales, like of cash collected. So you have an influx of a bunch of money coming in, and that's why this model becomes so powerful, because once you have, when you every month you're making 10 to 15 sales a day, you're gonna get a month that like you have 60, $80,000 just pure profit coming to you, because you already paid the first one to pay back the ads from over here. I'll put payback for ads. Yeah. So, one is a payback for ads. Then the next one is this one right here is to, let me put this a little bit higher. This one is to buy your next clients, right? And then this one right here is your extra profit. Boom. And the cool thing about this too, that, if you make 10 sales, this will also equate to 30K cash collected 1 month or a week, depending where you are in your business. You either probably, depending on the revenue you're doing. If you're doing 100K months, you're probably doing 30K a week. or whatever the number is. But yeah, that's pretty much how this system works, and this is how this thing becomes so extremely profitable, because it keeps going and going and going. That's the reason why John, in 8 months, he reached 500K months, because if you do this, I mean, and getting 10 sales a month, it's not too much. Like 10 sales a month is like 3 a week ish, or 2 a week. So it should be, you could make a lot more once you know this whole system. Your cost per book call and your cost per acquisition, you can get easily 20 clients a month. It's just you got to do it the right way, which that's what makes us special. That when you work with us, we give you a lot of things that already worked, so it takes less guessing work out of you guys back. Um, but yeah, this is how you probably run ads. You first need to find your cost per acquisition. Then your cost per. First, I'm sorry, your cost per acquisition book call. Then your cost to acquire a client, and with that, you can just literally do math. It's simple math. What is your closing rate? Depending on your closing rate, you can be like, okay, if I get 10 people in front of me, I can predictably close 2, 3, 4, 5 of those people, at least at a bare minimum 30%. And then you need a certain down payment. You find out, I like 3K down for the funding because it all makes sense. I put 3K down. I pay for last month ads. I put another 3K down for future ads, and then I keep 3K for profit. And you can do this over and over and over and over again. So yeah, guys, this is exactly how you guys should run your marketing department as well. This is how you make this whole thing profitable. Again, you can scale all the way to literally 400, 300K months using the exact same system. I'm doing it right now. And also, not only myself, we have clients that are doing the same and scaling this thing to as far as they can. All right, so I hope you got a lot of value of this video. Don't over confuse things when you're tracking stuff. Just know your cost per book call and cost per acquisition, and just those two metrics. You don't need to get all fancy and having a million trackers and having all these crazy trackers, which I love. That's the reason why we create this and buy a lot of these trackers, because like they really help me. But you don't really need all of this to make a shit ton of money. All you need is your cost per book call, cost per acquisition, and your closing rate pretty much, and you can predictably scale. All right, guys. So peace out. I'll see you on the next one.